The beginning of the storm. In the bustling town of Ibadan, where the streets were always filled with the sound of vendors selling their wares and children playing in the dusty streets, there was a school called Bright Future Academy. It was a big school with bright yellow walls, and children from all over the town attended it. Among them were two girls, Adoni and Abeni, who were in the same class but could not be more different. Adoni was a quiet girl. She lived with her grandmother in a small house at the edge of the town. Adoni was smart and loved to read books. She was always the top of her class, but she didn't have many friends. Her clothes were old, and she always carried a second-hand school bag that was starting to tear. Despite this, Adoni had a kind heart and always helped others when they needed it. On the other hand, there was Abeni. Abeni was the daughter of a wealthy politician in the town. She was known for her beautiful clothes, expensive shoes, and fancy gadgets. Abeni was also smart, but she was proud and liked to show off. She had a group of friends who followed her everywhere, laughing at her jokes and doing whatever she wanted. Abeni loved being the center of attention, and she hated when anyone tried to outshine her. From the first day they met, Abeni did not like Adoni. She didn't like how the teachers always praised Adoni for her intelligence, even though Adoni was poor. Abeni wanted to be the best at everything, and she didn't want anyone, especially someone like Adoni, to take that away from her. One day, during break time, Abeni decided to show everyone that she was the boss. She walked up to Adoni, who was sitting alone under a tree, reading a book. "Why are you always acting like you're better than everyone else?" Abeni sneered, standing over Adoni. Adoni looked up, confused. "I don't think I'm better than anyone," she replied softly. "Then why do you always try to be the best in class? Why don't you just sit back and let someone else be on top for once?" Abeni snapped, her voice filled with jealousy. Adoni closed her book and stood up. "I study hard because I want to make my grandmother proud. I don't mean to upset anyone." But Abeni didn't care about Adoni's explanation. From that day on, she made it her mission to make Adoni's life miserable. Abeni started spreading rumors about Adoni, telling everyone that Adoni was a thief who stole her school supplies. She even convinced her friends to tease Adoni, calling her a bookworm and teacher's pet. Whenever Adoni walked down the hallway, the other kids would whisper and laugh behind her back. Adoni tried to ignore them, but it wasn't easy. She felt alone and sad. The only thing that kept her going was her grandmother's words, "You are strong, Adoni. No matter what happens, always be kind and never let anyone dim your light." But as the days went on, Abeni's bullying became worse. She would trip Adoni in the hallway, knock her books out of her hands, and sometimes even push her into the dirt after school. Adoni would go home with bruises on her knees and tears in her eyes, but she never told her grandmother. She didn't want to worry her. One day, after another particularly bad day at school, Adoni ran to the back of the schoolyard, where no one could see her. She sat on the ground, hugged her knees, and cried. She was tired of being bullied, tired of being treated like she was nothing. As she sat there, crying, someone approached her. It was Tunde, a boy from her class. Tunde was quiet, just like Adoni, but he was strong and brave. He had seen what Abeni and her friends had been doing to Adoni, and he couldn't stand it anymore. "Why are you crying?" Tunde asked, sitting down next to her. Adoni wiped her eyes and looked at him. "I don't know what to do. Abony and her friends hate me. They won't leave me alone." Tunde thought for a moment, then said, "You don't have to face them alone. I'll help you. We can figure out a way to stop them together." Adoni was surprised by his offer. No one had ever stood up for her before. She felt a little hope start to grow in her heart. Maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to go through this alone.